I am back today with another Instagram Q&A. I'm really actually enjoying engaging with the audience, the community that we've built over on Instagram at Las Vegas Gal and at Cerrone Group. So if you're not following us, please do that right now. This question that I'm covering in today's video is something that I have a very hard time talking about and coming up with things to talk about. So the fact that I have answers from the audience is going to help me get you the answers that you need. And the real question today is, why should you not move to Las Vegas? I've tried to do this video by myself at least 7 times in the past, and I genuinely am always coming up with the reasons you should and then trying to flip it. It just doesn't work. So I'm gonna let the audience just tell you what it's like. Okay, here we go. Help me Spock. First of all, great name, by the way. It says future water supply issues. I want to touch on that for a minute because that seems to be a really prevalent question and a comment that's coming through a lot of you who are reaching out to us. The city is not running out of water today. They're putting in long-term measures to help us make sure that we're going to have water and water supply and water rights for many, 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 many years to come. If you're really stressed about it, I know my friend at Jacob's Life in Vegas has done a couple of interviews with the water district and some people like that, so you can certainly check those out. I'll see if I can link those in the description below, but do not stress too much about the water. Come to Vegas, you'll be fine. Skull Queen 13 says the smoking ban does not apply to casinos. Here in Vegas, yeah, you definitely are gonna smell smoke, so if you like it, great. If you don't like it, sorry, if you're in the casinos. Also, if you're gonna go to a restaurant in a casino for dinner, just know that if it's an open air restaurant, you may get some smoky smell inside the restaurant, so there's no way to fully close it off. If you have a problem with gambling, and that came from Cam Kiriad. He's right. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest with ourselves, people. Let's do some deep work here before we move to Las Vegas. This is Sin City after all, right? Let's be honest with ourselves. If we have an addictive personality, Las Vegas is probably not where you want to spend your majority of your time. Sometimes people move here and then they discover that they have those types of personalities. So I'm gonna ask you in advance, please do the deep work. Maybe some therapy, maybe some deep questioning, ask your friends and family, watch your daily patterns. Just make sure that you don't have any of those types of things that are gonna set you up for failure when it comes to moving to Vegas. Thank you, Cam Kiriad. I don't know who you are, but that was an awesome comment. Judy Vegas says, if you don't like the heat, thank you, Judy. I know you're always replying to my stuff on Instagram. Yeah, so the heat seems to be coming up a lot in a couple of these responses, and it gets hot here. That's the bottom line. It freaking gets hot. If you currently live in a place that's humid or, like Florida or has more of a humid climate, you're gonna appreciate the heat here in Las Vegas because you won't be sticky, you won't be dripping wet. But if you are not used to heat at all, if the highest you've ever experienced in a normal, non-humid climate is like 85 or 90, show up in Las Vegas with some sunscreen and a hat because it does get hot. Krista.Fortin.1 says the crazy drivers. Nobody warned me about this before we moved here, LOL. I don't personally think we have crazy drivers, but this is all I know because I grew up here. I've only driven in Las Vegas, so I don't know anything else. If you come from a small town or a rural place, like Midwest, something like that, just gird your loins. That's all I have to say is gird your loins. This is a melting pot. Las Vegas is filled with people from all over the world who have learned to drive all over the world. So if you're used to driving in LA or New York or San Francisco, where it's a little bit more condensed and more trafficy, Vegas is gonna be a freaking breeze for you. You're gonna be like, oh my God, these freeways are so wide, I can't believe there's so much space. If you're somebody from, like I said, the South or the Midwest, where there's not as much traffic, just be prepared and just come. And the good news is we have a lot of freeways. This is a grid-like city, so it's very easy to get around. You just need to be a little bit more vigilant when it comes to driving. Trisser Trace, hello my friend, my very, very good friend. She replied and said, the heat, the naked chicks on the billboards, and the taxis, of course, and too much gambling. Let's talk about the naked chicks on the billboards because, again, I just want to reiterate, this is Sin City. If you're very, very conservative or you have children of a younger age, I'm not telling you that you're going to see that all over the city. It's really mostly towards the center of the city where you're on the freeways or you're down on the strip or you're downtown. If you're planning to live a more rural life in Las Vegas or a little bit more of a suburb life, you're not going to have to worry about this too much. Just keep that in mind. Be prepared to have those conversations. And if you click the link in the description, I'm happy to give you a little bit more detail and a little more guidance on how I did raise my 2 kids and manage to keep them out of trouble. So good point. Thank you, Trisser Trace. Appreciate you. A. Assen says, and she's actually a small business owner of Vegas Strong Junk Removal. Hey, Alexandra, thank you so much for replying. She said, please don't move here. Don't move here if you aren't ready to live your best Las Vegas life. Love you, cha-ching, booyah. That's all I have to say. I should just end this video right now because that's the best comment ever. And that's the reason I haven't been able to do this video myself. I'm the one who's doing that kind of response every time. They should come here if they're not gonna love having all the best food and all the best entertainment. I have a tendency to only look at the positive. So I appreciate you doing that for me, Alexandra, because this can get really negative otherwise. Wheels and Warriors says the crime and the bad education. Well, that's a really tough one for me to talk about because I've talked about this in previous videos where crime and education are really It's up to you to determine what that means to you, right? Crime, for instance. If you come from a city or a state that has really, really high crime rates and you're used to ducking when you're driving because you don't want to get hit with a flying bullet, Vegas is going to be a piece of cake. But if you're not used to any crime at all and you're from a small town, you might want to just be prepared and look at crime rates. Vegas is not an unsafe city. Get to know your neighborhood, be smart, lock your doors, keep your purse on your shoulder, don't hang it on the back of a chair, things like that. And I actually just filmed a really awesome safety tips video. So check that out. I'll link that video up here so you can check out that video for tips on how to live here and be safe. Ross Sawyer says, if you like walking, City of Vegas night might not be for you. And what I think he's talking about with that comment is really, Las Vegas is not very walkable. We are a commuter state and a commuter city. The great news though is most things in town are 15, 20 minutes away, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes from one place to the next, and the freeways are really easy to get around on, so don't stress about that. But yeah, if you're wanting something more like a New York City or San Francisco experience, Vegas is not going to be for you unless you want to live downtown. Nicole the Nixter says, terrain is too dry and arid, not enough lush greenery, looks too barren. Henderson is green and lush, and definitely big parts of Summerlin are also green and lush. It just depends on where you live. But yeah, she's right. We live in the desert. Hello. I really do appreciate though that you said that, because I do think people far underestimate the fact that we do live in the desert. It is very dry here. Lotion will be your best friend. Water will be your best friend. And just being aware of the climate changes throughout the year will also be really important for you. If you're not used to that, I highly recommend visiting Las Vegas several times at different times of the year to see what that climate feels like to you and see how your body reacts. But that was a really, really good comment. Thank you so much, Nicole. So I'm super grateful for all of you who responded. Thank you so much for all the people who gave me those answers. I do really have a hard time when it comes to coming up with reasons not to move to Vegas, and all of those comments were absolutely valid. So what are we gonna do, my friends? We're gonna do our research. We're gonna click the link in the description below so that we can contact the Cerrone Group and they can help you walk through these things for your life. And then you're gonna plan your move here, because at the end of the day, Vegas is rad. I know you can overcome the heat. I know you can overcome the vice stuff, hopefully. And if not, just don't move here. Thank you as always for tuning in. If you want to get in touch with our team, again, I'll just mention it again. I'm going to include that link right here, and it's in the description below, and we'll see you next time.